It's midnight and you're tuned in to Nightline with me, Liyana Hassanel. The top stories. Police seize over 3.5 tons of ecstasy worth over 598 million ringgit. And Sabah floods remain severe with nearly 3,000 evacuees. The headlining story. Police have seized drugs worth nearly 2 billion ringgit so far this year, with the largest haul recorded last week. Inspector General of Police Datuk Sri Muhammad Khalid Ismail said a syndicate involved in processing and distributing ecstasy was dismantled. It was conducted on 2 illegal drug laboratories in the Klang Valley on September 10th. More than 3.5 tons of drugs worth over R500 million ringgit were seized during the operation, codenamed Opine. The operation was conducted at 2 industrial sites in Kepong, where police seized ecstasy in Selayang led to the arrest of another suspect.
Sajatan awal mendapati sindiket ini dipercayai mula beroperasi sejak bulan Julai 2025 dengan modus operandi menyewa premis di kawasan perindustrian sebagai lokasi memproses makmal haram sebelum diedarkan ke pasaran tempatan dan luar negara.
He added that the 4 suspects, all local and aged between 34 and 51, had specific roles, where one acted as the coordinator, another as a chemist, while the remaining 2 were an associate and a transporter. They have been remanded for 14 days until next Tuesday. The case is being investigated under the Dangerous Drugs Act. In a separate development, the top cop revealed that police have identified 10 politicians allegedly blackmailed with fake pornographic videos made using artificial intelligence. Only 4 of the politicians involved, however, have come forward to file police reports. According to Khalid, further investigations are underway to determine the motive behind the threats.
Masih lagi dalam kita punya siasatan, sebab isu-isu yang begini kadang-kala ada pihak-pihak tertentu ingin mengambil kesempatan untuk membuat sesuatu ugutan kepada individu tertentu bagi tujuan kewangan dan sebagainya.
Last Sunday, several lawmakers received emails from unknown individuals demanding a payment of $100,000 US. The sender of the emails threatened to release fake sexually explicit AI-generated videos using the victims' faces. Those who received the threats included Subang MP Wong Chen, Senator Datuk Nelson W. Angang, Kulim Assemblyman Wong Chia Zhen, and Sungai Petani MP Muhammad Taufik Johari. The flood situation in Sabah remains severe, with nearly 3,000 people evacuated to 22 temporary relief centers, PPS, as of Wednesday evening. 6 districts are affected, including Sipitang, the latest to be hit by floods. According to the Disaster Situation Report by the National Disaster Management Agency, or NADMA, the number of evacuees in Sabah stood at 2,850, with 800 families affected as of 8 p.m. The situation has remained unchanged since 4 p.m. A total of 930 evacuees are taking shelter in Membakut, 700 in Pinampang, and 563 in Putatan, spread across 17 PPS. 574 people from 175 families have also been evacuated to 3 PPS in Beaufort and Papar. The agency reported that 2 relief centers in Sipitang are housing 24 families, while 3 centers in Pinampang and Papar continue to shelter 14 families affected by landslides. Meanwhile, Datuk Sri Ahmad Zahid Hamidi announced that the government will rebuild houses destroyed and repair those damaged by floods and landslides in Sabah. The Deputy Prime Minister said the list of affected houses is being reviewed by the State Disaster Management Committee.
Manakala Giat Mara akan mengkoordinasikan untuk rumah-rumah yang rosak tetapi masih boleh diduduki untuk dipasang pendawaian semula bagi saluran tenaga atau electricity.
Zahid, who is also the Central Disaster Management Committee chairman, told this to reporters after arriving in Kota Kinabalu on Wednesday evening to assess disaster situation affecting the 6 districts in the state. On Thursday, he is scheduled to visit flood-affected areas, including in Papar and a temporary relief center in Kinarut, as well as the landslide site in Kampung Muk, where 2 lives were lost. In the meantime, Sabah Chief Minister Datuk Sri Haji Nur called on all parties to come together and assist the victims affected by the floods and landslides. He stressed that politics should be put aside as the state grapples with the ongoing disaster. Haji also reaffirmed the state government's commitment to supporting victims by providing various forms of assistance, including compassionate cash aid, while working to find long-term solutions to the recurring problem.
Jadi di pihak kerajaan negeri dan juga kerajaan persekutuan kita bantu mana yang patut untuk meringankan bebanan keluarga mangsa ini.
He said this to reporters at the Kampung Muk Temporary Relief Center in Papar on Wednesday, after visiting the next of kin of victims killed in a series of landslides that have struck the state since last Friday. Among the dead were 38-year-old Emily Johnny and her 11-year-old son, Zyril Meyer Aristotle, who died when their home was buried in the landslide. The mother and son were among 13 people who have lost their lives in the disaster so far. Haji also extended his condolences to the families of 3 other victims in Kampung Marahang Tuntul. Meanwhile, 53 educational institutions in Sabah and Sarawak have been affected by the floods. The Education Ministry said 24 primary schools and 5 secondary schools in Sabah were impacted. In Sarawak, 22 primary schools and 2 secondary schools were affected. 6 educational premises are also being used as temporary evacuation centers. The ministry also expressed condolences to the families of 4 students who lost their lives as a result of the floods and landslides in Sabah. Titiwangsa Member of Parliament Datuk Sri Johari Abdul Ghani emphasized that Kampung Sungai Baru is not just an ordinary settlement, but land granted by the Sultan of Selangor to the Malay community during the British era. He said any redevelopment efforts must take this history into account to ensure that the rights and interests of the Malay community are safeguarded. Johari stressed that developers must build housing that is affordable to the Malay community, as the land was originally allotted to them.
British resident bagi on 16 February 1932. 1932, belum merdeka kita. Dia gazetkan the entire enclave Kampung Baru tu sebagai kawasan penempatan untuk orang Melayu. Mass Agriculture Settlement. Dia tulis dalam akta tu, dia ada lebih kurang dalam 220 ekar, more or less dalam akta tu.
He said this during a special interview on the podcast Utama Buletin TV3 program, which aired on Wednesday. Johari added that the land is a symbol of Malay identity in the federal capital, and its value cannot be measured solely in terms of profit. Kampung Sungai Baru, located near the Kuala Lumpur city centre, has faced redevelopment delays for 9 years. The project was stalled after some residents, dissatisfied with the compensation offered by the developer, refused to vacate their homes. On September 11th, a court-ordered eviction process turned chaotic when a group opposing the evictions tried to push through a police barricade, sparking a scuffle. The incident left Dangwangi Police Chief Assistant Commissioner Sulizmi Effendi Sulaiman injured after he was struck on the head by an object hurled from the crowd. The mother of the late Zara Khairina Mahathir was given ample time to decide whether a post-mortem should be conducted on her daughter's body. A forensic medical officer from Queen Elizabeth Hospital testified that Noraidah Lamat rejected the procedure, despite receiving a full explanation on 2 occasions. The coroner's court on Wednesday was informed by the seventh witness, Dr. Logaraj Ratha, that he handed the declaration of refusal for post-mortem examination at own request to Noraida, after receiving confirmation that she was declining a post-mortem. Dr. Logaraj informed her that without a post-mortem, the family would not be able to make any claims or obtain an official report on the cause of death from the hospital. Despite this, Noraida still refused the procedure and signed the form while witnessed by her sister-in-law, Nur Shira Abdullah, who also filled in her details in the witness section and signed the document. He was later informed by the investigating officer, Inspector Wang Yuzhong, that the police would not issue the request for post-mortem examination form and that the hospital could therefore release Zara's remains to her family. Meanwhile, Azhari Sagap, the chief warden at Zara Kairina's school dormitory, said he had instructed 3 students and a security guard to move the deceased after she was found unconscious in a drain beside her hostel building. He said he had told them to do so because he did not notice any of Zara's injuries until after she was lifted. The inquest proceedings will resume on Thursday. Malaysia's economy remains resilient, with monthly gross domestic product growth estimated at 5.3% in July. This reflects positive momentum following the 5.5% growth recorded in June and 4.4% in the second quarter of 2025. The industrial sector remained the main driver, supported by growth in electrical and electronics, manufacturing and mining, fueled by expansion in both export-oriented and domestic industries. Domestic spending also recovered, as reflected in the wholesale and retail trade index, which expanded a faster pace of 4.6% in July. Maybank Investment Bank expects the economy to remain resilient, with full-year GDP growth projected at 4.2%, in line with the government's official forecast range. The Civil Aviation Authority of Malaysia, or CAAM, will draft a regulatory framework for the country's low-altitude economy sector. Transport Minister Anthony Loke said it will cover the use of drones, urban air mobility, as well as emerging aviation technologies.
Aspek keselamatan tidak akan dikompromikan. Jadi itu mesej yang utama. Yang keduanya ialah kita juga perlu memberikan perhatian kepada perkembangan-perkembangan industri baru. Umpamanya sektor drone yang begitu maju ke hadapan sekarang.
Loke said this at the launch of CAAM's new logo and corporate identity in Putrajaya on Wednesday. He explained that the initiative is crucial to ensure that the new sector can grow safely and competitively, alongside the rapid development of air mobility technologies. Loke added that the regulatory framework should not be excessive, so as to not hinder the industry's growth. Indonesia's central bank announced on Wednesday a surprise interest rate cut as it seeks to boost growth, weeks after the country was rocked by protests that initially focused on economic inequality. Bank Indonesia lowered the benchmark 7-day reverse repurchase rate by 25 basis points to 4.75%, while its 2 other key rates were cut by 50 and 25 basis points, respectively. This is the 6th rate cut since September last year by Bank Indonesia, which has trimmed borrowing costs by 150 basis points over the past year. The decision came weeks after protests in late August and early September that initially focused on economic inequality and lawmakers' lavish pay. 1 million ringgit worth of drugs seized. The details after this breather.
Susah buat pilihan. Boleh tolong saya?
Tanyalah Ustaz minggu ini. Isnin, keutamaan Al-Qawwam. Selasa, Islam mendamaikan. Rabu, tak lunas, tak lepas. Khamis, teladani sifat Al-Faruq. Jumaat, contohi kesabaran Nabi. Sabtu, berhala moden. Ahad, neraca tenang dan gelisah. Tanyalah Ustaz biar tahu jangan keliru di TV3 dan TV9. Stream juga melalui Tonton.
Unlocking the future of business.
From industry evolutions to policy changes, we go beyond the headline.
Deep insights, sharp analysis.
Understanding the forces driving tomorrow's economy.
Key financial insights that drive decisions.
This is Money Matters, every Saturday, 5 p.m.
Only on TV3 and stream now on Tonton.
Apabila datang, ia boleh mengambil alih kesemuanya tubuh, minda dan hidup anda. Stres bukan sekadar tekanan perasaan tetapi boleh mengancam kesihatan secara keseluruhan. Kenalilah tanda-tanda stres sejak awal dan bincang mengenainya secara terbuka. Dapatkan sokongan moral dan emosi daripada orang di sekeliling anda serta bantuan profesional di saluran yang betul. Saksikan Hello Doktor Ahad 5:30 petang di TV3.
Welcome back. The Home Ministry will implement the National Integrated Immigration System, or NICE, on a trial basis for immigration entry and exit processes. The trial period runs from September 22nd until February 28th next year at 7 air and land entry points nationwide. In a statement, the ministry said the trial will start at the Sultan Abu Bakar complex and Sultan Iskandar building in Johor. It will then be expanded in stages to 5 of the country's main international airports, KLIA Terminal 1 and Terminal 2, Bayan Lepas Pulau Pinang, Kuching Sarawak, and Kota Kinabalu Sabah. During the trial period, the existing QR code system and My Border Pass application will remain in use. However, the public, including foreign visitors, are encouraged to also download the My NICE application. At the end of the trial period, NICE will replace the existing QR code system as part of efforts to enhance and upgrade the efficiency of automated security screening at the country's entry points. The system is one of the key initiatives under the government's reform agenda led by the Home Ministry, with its implementation brought forward to this month from the original schedule of March next year. 6 men suspected of stealing cables from the East Coast Rail Link, or ECRL project, in 3 districts in Pahang have been arrested by police. Also detained were 2 men, a scrap shop operator and his worker in Kuala Lumpur, suspected of buying the stolen cables. All of them have been remanded until Thursday to assist in police investigations under the Penal Code. Pahang Police Chief Datuk Sri Yahya Othman said the stolen cables were estimated to weigh about 1 ton, with the value of the seizure exceeding 800,000 ringgit. All the suspects aged between 29 and 45 are believed to be members of 2 groups known as Geng Musang and Geng Jep Gambang, suspected of actively stealing ECRL project cables around Pahang since August. They also have a record of multiple prior criminal offences and tested positive for drugs. Police are still tracking down 4 other suspects, including a Cambodian national believed to be the leader of Geng Musang. The 6 primary suspects are being investigated for theft and mischief, while the scrap metal shop operator and his worker are being investigated for dishonestly receiving stolen property. Earlier, ECRL's main contractor reported the theft of 1,080 meters of cable along. In Kelantan, police arrested an elderly woman and her 2 children and seized yaba pills and ketum leaves worth over 1.6 million ringgit. The arrests and seizure were made during a raid on a house in Kampung Paupanji, Kota Baru last Wednesday. State Police Chief Datuk Muhammad Yusof Mahmat said the trio were inside the house during the raid. The search uncovered 18 packages containing 108,000 yaba pills and 37 kilograms of ketum leaves. Initial investigations revealed that the drugs belonged to the 19-year-old male suspect, while his sister and mother denied any involvement. The suspect is believed to have been running a drug trafficking operation since May, storing the drugs at the house before distributing them to customers. Further investigations are ongoing, including efforts to track down other accomplices. All 3 suspects are currently remanded until next Wednesday, with the case being investigated under the Dangerous Drugs Act and the Poisons Act. Charlie Kirk's murderer accused faces death penalty. The details when Nightline returns.
Wanita Hari. Cuaca panas dapat makan aiskrim penikmat kan?
Macam-macam lagi menu berais yang menyejukkan.
Malaysia penuh dengan hidangan dan juga budaya yang unik.
Kenali tarian dan masakan dari Sabah, Sarawak.
Reunion ni seronok ke tidak sebenarnya?
Ada yang bertemu jodoh, ada yang membawa haluan lain.
Nak cantik tu boleh, tapi jangan sampai memudaratkan diri.
Jangan menyesal di kemudian hari.
Antara BFF dan juga pasangan, siapa lebih utama?
Jangan biarkan hidup anda dalam dilema.
Semuanya di WHI TV3.
Dan sim sekarang melalui Tonton.
Wanita Hari ini.
Fazli suka bercuti dekat mana kalau cuti panjang?
Saya tak kisah asalkan sesuai dengan keluarga.
Selain meriah dengan percutian, Malaysia juga saling meraikan perpaduan dan menghormati budaya bangsa antara satu sama lain.
Daya, masa kita kecil dahulu kan cukup berbeza tau dengan sekarang. Jadi kita nak ketahui kaedah terbaik didikan awal kanak-kanak masa kini.
Bercakap mengenai jangka panjang, bagaimana dengan industri kedai runcit untuk masa hadapan? Isnin hingga Jumaat jam 10 pagi.
Stream melalui Tonton juga eksklusif di TV3.
Unlocking the future of business.
From industry evolutions to policy changes, we go beyond the headline.
Deep insights, sharp analysis.
Understanding the forces driving tomorrow's economy.
Key financial insights that drive decisions.
This is Money Matters, every Saturday, 5 p.m.
Only on TV3 and stream now on Tonton.
Mira nak kongsikan sedikit panduan keselamatan anak ketika di luar rumah. Pastikan keadaan sekeliling, pantau pergerakan anak dan jangan biarkan mereka berkeliaran jauh daripada anda. Elakkan pemakaian barang kemas yang berlebihan. Yang terakhir, boleh bawa whistle bersama. Jerit sekuat hati atau tiup whistle untuk menarik perhatian orang sekeliling sekiranya diganggu atau merasa terancam. Dapatkan pelbagai informasi bermanfaat bersama Nona setiap Ahad jam 2 petang di TV3.
The foreign news. Zionist forces pressed on with a new ground offensive in Gaza City on Wednesday as strikes across the Palestinian territory overnight killed at least 51 people. The army reportedly continued heavy bombardment by air and land, using aircraft, drones, tanks and engineering equipment that leveled entire streets. More than half of the dead were killed in strikes on Gaza City, including a child and his mother at their apartment in the Shati refugee camp. In central Gaza, an Israeli strike hit a house in the urban Nusayrat refugee camp, killing 3, including a pregnant woman. Earlier, the Zionist military announced it would open a temporary transportation route via Salah al-Din Street starting midday Thursday, allowing civilians to flee Gaza City over a 48-hour period. Meanwhile, the Global Sumut Flotilla humanitarian mission, which includes a Malaysian delegation, has set sail 3 days after departing from the port of Augusta in Sicily, Italy, en route to Gaza. Malaysian volunteer Rahmat Iksan said the mission is progressing smoothly, with participants displaying strong solidarity and high spirits.
Di perairan Itali, kita akan bertemu di suatu titik temu bersama dengan 3 ketumbukan utama. Yang pertama daripada Greece, yang kedua pada Itali sendiri, dan kami, yakni saya dan juga kawan-kawan kita yang lain, Zizi Kirana, Ardel, Ariana dan Musa Nuwairi. Kita daripada ketumbukan Tunisia.
So far, around 40 vessels have joined the mission, and this number is expected to rise. The Gaza humanitarian mission includes volunteers from 44 countries, including 15 Malaysians, who are bringing food supplies and medical aid. Tyler Robinson, the suspect in the murder of prominent U.S. conservative political activist Charlie Kirk, has been formally charged with aggravated murder. Prosecutors in Utah on Tuesday announced that 6 other charges include obstruction of justice and witness tampering, allegedly for ordering his roommate to stay silent. Utah County Attorney Jeff Gray said prosecutors will seek the death penalty for the suspect. Kirk, a close ally of President Donald Trump, was shot dead last week during an event on a university campus in Utah. 22-year-old Robinson is accused of firing a single bullet from a rooftop, fatally hitting Kirk in the neck in front of thousands of people. U.S. President Donald Trump has announced a deal with China to allow the TikTok platform to continue operating in the United States. Trump said he would speak to Chinese President Xi Jinping on Friday to confirm the details of an agreement to avoid a ban on the popular video sharing app in the country. It comes as Trump signed an executive order on Tuesday, extending until December 16th a deadline for TikTok's Chinese owner, ByteDance, to divest from the platform or face the promised ban. Trump, however, did not provide specific details on the nature of the deal. The future of TikTok, which claims more than 117 million users in the U.S., has been in the balance since lawmakers in Washington last year passed legislation to force the platform to divest from its Chinese ownership. Switching to sports, badminton, the 2025 China Masters. National shuttlers started strong at the Super 750 tournament, advancing through the early rounds with convincing performances in both singles and doubles events in Shenzhen on Wednesday. Top men's singles shuttler Leong Junhao continued his fine run of form by defeating Indonesia's former Olympic bronze medalist Anthony Ginting 21-19, 5-21, 21-10. The world number 23 will next face in-form Li Shifeng of China in the second round. Joining him was women's doubles duo Pelitan Amtina. The world number 2 pair was made to work hard before edging out Indonesia's Febriana Dwi Puji Kusuma, Melissa Trias Puspitasari in a thrilling 20-22, 21-16, 22-20 victory. Up next, they will take on Americans Francesca Corbett, Jenny Guy. Earlier, newly crowned world champions Chen Tangji, To Iwei made a winning return after cruising into the second round. The mixed doubles pair, playing their first match since lifting the world title in Paris last month, brushed aside Americans Chen Heyi, Francesca Corbett, 21-12, 21-14, setting up a clash with Indonesia's Jafar Hidayatullah, Felicia Pasaribu. Also advancing to the second round was another mixed doubles pair, Hu Pangron, Cheng Su-yin, who defeated Indonesia's Adnan Maulana, Indah Cahya Sari Jamil, 21-6, 21-14 in just 27 minutes. Awaiting the pair in the second round are China's Guo Xinhua, Chen Fanghui. Earlier, other national shuttlers could not replicate the same success after bowing out in the opening round. Men's singles shuttler Li Zijia's comeback hopes took another hit, as the world number 42 was forced to retire while trailing 6-14 in the deciding game against Taiwan's Lin Chunyi. Zijia had earlier taken the first game 21-17, but narrowly lost the second 21-23. Also failing to advance to the second round were men's doubles pair Wan Arifon Junaidi, Yap Roy King, who lost to India's Chirag Shetty, Satwik Sairaj Ranki Reddy, 20-24, 13-21. Veterans Ong Yu Sin, Teo Yi also made an early exit, going down 10-21, 7-21 to Taiwan's Chu Xiangche, Wang Qilin. On to athletics, the 2025 World Athletics. Kenya's Faith Kipyegon produced a trademark devastating last lap to win an unprecedented fourth World Women's 1,500-meter title in Tokyo on Tuesday. The Kenyan, also three-time Olympic champion over the distance, timed 3 minutes 52.15 seconds to add another gold to her incredible medal haul that guarantees her place in the pantheon of the very best middle distance runners. Kipyegon's fourth world title matched the record held by Hisham El Gurouj, the Moroccan who won the men's event between 1997 to 2003. Fellow Kenyan Dorcas Iwoy ran a personal best of 3 minutes 54.92 seconds to win silver, while Jessica Hull secured Australia's first medal in the event by just holding on for bronze in 3 minutes 55.16 seconds. And that concludes Nightline this time around. Before we leave, let's take a look as Taiwan unveils next-generation weapons co-developed with the U.S. on the eve of the 2025 Taipei Aerospace and Defense Technology Exhibition. With that, I'm Hassanel. Thank you for watching and be well, Malaysia.